It has been a minute. It has definitely been a minute. What is going on, YouTube? Welcome to the Shuckle Premier League Season 1. Welcome to the Detroit Steel Wings draft analysis. I'm very excited to be back in the seat again with some draft league content. It's been, as most of the regulars here know, it's been 2 or 3 years since my last draft league, and I am very out of practice. Not so much from a competitive side of things, but from a drafting and counter teaming perspective. So it's really funny. It is, I heard somebody talk about it. It is a renaissance of draft league format. I mean, you had the GBA come back after God knows how many years. I came out of the ashes for another season. You got 6 Foot Hex coming back to content in general after a few years, part of this league. It's amazing. It's a great time. I really do want to give Joey Pokegame his props for all the work he's put in with helping to build and rebuild the draft league format community over here. I feel like it kind of got to a, in my mind, a little bit of a lull. And I know that there are some creators that kept ongoing leagues and stuff like that going on through Sword and Shield and through base Scarlet and Violet and stuff like that. So I certainly don't want to leave them out from any sort of recognition there. But I think Joey's been putting in a lot of work with his platform and just helping to bring more people to the light of Draft League, which in my opinion is probably, it is one of the best formats of Pokemon. I can't say it is the best because there's some subjectiveness within the ruling and the tiering and what you allow and what you don't allow and how you do things. So I think the best really is singles in my opinion, just in general. But Draft League will always have a special place in my heart as one of the biggest Kickstarters to my channel and my career. So if it's been a while for you, welcome back. If you're brand new, welcome. My name is Chase, or CBAD. I am coach of the Detroit Steel Wings, proudly representing. I had to actually find this hoodie out of storage. If you guys would like Detroit Steel Wings merchandise, let me know in the comment section below. If not, I will not lose sleep over it. But if you do, let me know and we can see about making it happen. We are here today with our draft analysis. So if you are brand new to this, if you have found my content through other means and have no idea what Pokemon Draft League is, you get a group of coaches. In this case, there's 14 of us, 16 of us. Multiple. There's a bunch of coaches. You get randomized into an order, and you get a tiering of Pokemon to pick from, rated from a high value, something like Dragapult being a very high valued Pokemon, going all the way down to the abyss of, you know, like Cubchoo and stuff like that at one point. So, and you have a certain amount of points that you have to draft with and budget. And you have in a Premier League setting, you do have a little bit of some flexibility with the firm cap of Pokemon you should get. In all the prior leagues I've done, it's been 11, I want to say, 10 or 11. But in this league, you have the opportunity to draft a minimum of 10 Pokemon, but a maximum of 12, depending on how you utilize your points. So this league, we were given 115 points to utilize over 10 to 12 picks. And I ended up getting a pseudo wheel pick. So actually, I think it was 16 coaches. So it started at coach 1, which was Joey Pokegame, shocker. And it went all the way down to the end, with Leo at the wheel being pick 16. So I ended up being, or maybe it was 12 picks. I don't recall where we ended up. 14, I think it's 14. I don't know how many coaches are in there. I forget. I haven't counted all of them. There are a bunch of good people. Check them out in the description. Anyways, having the wheel pick allows you to pick 2 picks back to back without having to worry about somebody getting sniped. You can always get a very synergistic pick. Having the pick right before that means as long as you don't play like the exact same guy next to you, you can pretty much get a good pair. So we had the second to last pick, which in my mind is the second best place to be at. I think third best place is probably the front wheel, followed by the second pick overall. I think those are my personal favorites. So we waited to make our picks, and so we were able to kind of synergize around there and go from there. Another thing to note in this league is that terrestrialization is allowed. There are designated terrestrialization captains. And the rules that we had on that, there were some more specifics that I believe Joey might have talked about in another video. If there's a rule document that I can link or anything like that, I'll have it down in the description. But there were certain moves that were banned. There were certain Pokemon that were banned for being terrestrial captains. Any Pokemon that was graded at a 9 points or lower is eligible to terrestrialize. Anything higher than 9 points, you could not. And you have 15 points to assign terrestrialization captains to. So if you assigned a Pokemon that costs 9 as one of your Terra captains, you now have 6 points left to assign more Terra Captains down the road. So you can, and it based on how much the points are. So you can do like a Pokemon that's worth an 8 and a Pokemon that's worth a 7. You can have a maximum of 3 captains though. So 2 to 3 seems to be a pretty going rate. I have 3 spoilers, which we'll talk about as we go through this draft analysis, and I hope this all looks well in post-production. Big shout out to Pedro, big shout out to CB Marcus for helping us put together all these graphics. It's the first league in a long time where I really haven't had to do a lot of grunt work when it comes to a lot of the presentation stuff like that. So very thankful for all the hard work that they put in to get this together. I think everything looks very nice, and I hope you guys do too. So going down the wheel, you know, you've got some really strong picks. You've got, like I said, I think Dragapult was up there. That went round 1. You know, Iron Valiant was up there. There were a lot of Pokemon that were available. And really, in my mind, when you are drafting Pokemon, you want to get what hits the hardest first out, right? And shameless plug, Glitch Energy, Plasmic Peach available soon. Use code CBAD. That packs a punch. Plasmic Peach, excuse me. I don't know if I said Plasmic Peach or Plasmic Punch. It packs a punch and it tastes like peach. It's delicious. You want to get something that just hits really hard, right? You want to just come out of the gate swinging. And one of the things that I've found that I really wanted to go into this league using more Pokemon that I hadn't used before. I always think that's the best part. I think some familiarity is nice to have a backbone, but other than that, I like using Pokemon that I haven't maybe used more than once or twice. And seeing as how I have not done any draft league in Scarlet and Violet, I wanted something that hit really hard from a new generation. So first Pokemon that we drafted was Iron Bundle. Now, Iron Bundle from both a singles and a VGC perspective is very, very strong. Even just in general, this Pokemon is, you know, base stats are very, very strong. It's got base 570 stat total. Doesn't pack too much of a punch as far as its attack and its special defense go, but it's got 114 defense, 124 special attack, 136 speed, making it one of the fastest Pokemon you can draft in league format, which is really nice. And I think Ice and Water is a really good type combination to have if you can get a good offensive gearing down for it. You know, it has the ability to set up things like Aurora Veil. It can toss off, you know, blizzards. It can toss off chilling waters. It has access to flip turn and U-turn, I believe. So if my opponent does have some sort of a water immunity with like Storm Drain or Water Absorb or something like that, we can always opt to run U-turn over flip turn. Freeze Dry, Hydro Pump, Ice Beam. Has access to Taunt as well, which is nice. And I'm sure there's some other moves down there that could be beneficial. But really, this thing just hits hard with its dual stab and its ability to pivot. You know, if my opponent does get the Snow up, if we have another Pokemon that can set the Snow up and go for an Aurora Veil, a fast Veil is really nice. But all in all, I really wanted something that I just knew. You know, I've watched a lot of VGC recently, and I know Iron Bundle's a great wall breaker for that. So I figured toss a Life Orb, some choice specs, some heavy duty boots on this thing. And it's good to go. It's good to go, right? That's my opinion on it. So I do like my cores. If you are new to the channel or new to Draft League in general, I do like my offensive, you know, my type cores. So you have a water type, you typically grab like a fire and grass type. If you have a dragon type, you typically grab a steel and fairy type. If you grab, you know, any of those synergizing type combinations, that way you're not stuck bringing the same 4 or 5 Pokemon every week and then just tossing on the random 6-mon. You really have an opportunity to build around all of them. So the next thing that I drafted, which come to find out is really super busted. And I'm very excited that I got this because now that I understand how fully well super busted it is. I thought the type combinations were cool. I thought the ability was cool because I don't believe, let me pull up Showdown. I don't believe too many Pokemon actually have this ability. Like 5 pretty usable ones, if that. 4 or 5 pretty usable ones outside of this Pokemon have this ability. So I thought that could be beneficial to, you know, just have one of these under our belt. But all in all, I really just, the more that I've like grown to know this Pokemon, the more I really, really like it. The next Pokemon we drafted is Ogrepon Hearthflame. So Ogrepon, one of the brand new Pokemon that was released in the Teal Mask DLC. We drafted the Hearthflame form or the fire variant of that, and I love the mask. Love the mask because of the, you know, needing to wear the mask in order to be in the Hearthflame mode. It cannot carry any other items, so that is a detriment to that. So we will obviously have a weakness to rocks right out the gate. We will not be able to carry any other items on there. But here's the cool thing is that the Hearthflame mask provides Ogrepon a 1.2 power attack boost on all on all attacks. A 1.2 power boost on all attacks. It's like almost a built-in life orb with no recoil. It's the expert belt, but it doesn't need to be super effective. It's an extra 20% boost on top of a 120 base power attack stat. That's monstrous. And I think it's got a pretty good a variety of moves. You know, it is not super varied in that it can be, you know, it's got a base 60 special attack stat, which, you know, you're not going to be running, we're not going to be running like a calm mindset if it even gets that. So we're really capitalizing on the fact that it has 120 base attack and 110 base speed. Hits really hard and has some fair coverage. It's got access to moves like Brick Break. It's got access to moves like Horn Leech for recovery. Its signature move is Ivy Cudgel, which is a 100 base power move with 100% accuracy with a high critical hit ratio. And the type depends on the user's form. So because we have the fire type, that is a base 100 fire type move with a high critical hit ratio. Absolutely fantastic. It's got access to moves like Knockout, Low Kick, Play Rough, Power Whip, Seed Bomb. It can set up spikes, which I don't even think I knew until after I drafted it. Hazards are always great. It's got Spiky Shield, which is fantastic as well. Stomping Tantrum, Superpower, Swords Dance, Throat Chop, Trailblaze, U-Turn, Woodhammer, Zen Headbutt. I mean, there's a ton of opportunities that we have to use this thing in just a really offensive, like just a hard offensive way here. And I'm really excited to use it. It has really, really grown on me the more after I drafted it. I was like, do I want to? Do I not want to? How do I want to go about this? So I really, really enjoy this pick quite a bit. And that now leaves us with two Pokemon that are weak to rocks, unfortunately. So Ogrepon Hearthflame not being able to carry any other item other than the Hearthflame mask, meaning we can't run heavy duty boots on it. Iron Bundle has the opportunity to run heavy duty boots on it, but to avoid those stealth rocks, those spikes, those toxic spikes, but we need very reliable hazard control at this point. And I really, truthfully, it didn't obviously fall to me in any of these rounds. I thought about like Great Tusk would be great, like no pun intended. I would love to have that Pokemon. So the next Pokemon we actually grabbed, and Iron Treads also was on there just as a very awesome like spinner. And I was like, well, if we can't have either Paradox form, why don't we just go with the GOAT? So we drafted Donphan. Donphan's fantastic. I believe I've used Donphan before. Maybe. I think it's been since like Gen 7 Draft League. So it's been a few generations since I've used Donphan super competitively. It has two abilities in Sturdy and Sandvale, Sturdy being probably the more commonly brought ability. Base 90 HP, 120 attack, 120 defense, 60 in special attack, special defense, and speed. One of the things I really like about Donphan, that is a hell of a sturdy rapid spinner. No, again, no pun. Sorry, if you're new, I'm a dad now, so the dad jokes just kind of fly out like no tomorrow. That is a very solid rapid spinner in Donphan. It has access to Stealth Rocks too, which gives us our second set of hazards. We've got Spikes on Ogrepon, Stealth Rocks on Donphan, which is nice. And Donphan just has some really, really great coverage, in my opinion. You know, it obviously has access to Earthquake. It has access to moves like Fire Fang, Gunk Shot, Head Smash, Ice Shard, Ice Spinner to remove any terrain, which is always great. Body Press, we can run a Iron Defense Body Press set, Iron Head, Knockoff, Play Rough, Poison Jab. It's actually been so long since I've used Donphan. I have not used Donphan with the speed boost. So even with Rapid Spin boosting our speed by one stage, that can put Donphan into a pretty aggressive driver's seat really quickly, depending on how my opponent's hanging on there. Access, Rock Slides, Seed Bombs, Stone Edge, Smackdown, Trailblaze, also some good grass coverage there in order to, alongside Seed Bomb, in order to raise the speed up. And there's some other moves on there that we can look to run if we so choose to. Access to moves like Smart Strike, Thunder Fang, and things along those lines. But this really did round out some security because I didn't want to draft too much offense beforehand without starting to get a little bit more of a defensive backbone. And Donphan provides us that defensive backbone. And what it lacks in residual recovery, it does really bring to the table in just overall reliability, in my opinion. I think Donphan is a very strong Pokemon to bring. And I know I said this earlier where I like to draft a variety of things so you can run a bunch of different things a bunch of different ways. I think Donphan is one of those core staples. Like, you are always ready to remove hazards. You are always ready to set up hazards. There's, you can be offensive, it can be defensive. It can be, Assault Vest boosting with things like with access to Rapid Spin and Trailblaze, being able to boost speeds up to Sweep, and the Assault Vest providing us just a little bit more of that special defensive backbone. So I was a really big fan of this pick. I'm glad that we were able to get that. And I wanted to start kind of hitting from a different side physically here. So in this next pick, you'll see that it in my mind, this is one of those Pokemon that you can run like a variety of ways. Iron Bundle, probably very offensive special attacker. Ogrepon, probably very offensive physical attacker. Donfan, a little bit of mixture, but really relying on that physical offense and that physical defense. So I wanted to kind of go back into that scenario and go with the offensive side, but really be able to bring it in a variety of different ways. So the next Pokemon that we drafted was Lucario. Lucario is a fighting and steel type. It has 3 abilities, all of which actually, again, and the last time I used Lucario was Gen 7, I want to say, back before the inner focus buff was there. So now this Pokemon, so first is steadfast. If this Pokemon flinches, its speed is raised by 1 stage. Inner focus, I cannot flinch and I'm immune to intimidate, which as a potential physical attacker is fantastic. And then justified, if I am attacked by, if I'm damaged by a dark type move, my attack is raised 1 stage as well. So switching into a knockoff and being able to take that as a resisted hit and potentially boosting our attack as well is really a good look. Lucario has 110 base attack and 115 base special attack with 90 base speed. That makes it a very strong candidate to really be brought, and again, a variety of weeks and in a variety of different ways. So with access to moves like agility, we're already going to start outspeeding a lot of our opponent's team if we can get the +2 speed. Capitalizing on its high special attack set, you've got access to moves like Aura Sphere, you've got access to moves like Dark Pulse, Dragon Pulse, Flash Cannon, Focus Blast, Psychic, Shadow Ball, Steel Beam, Terra Blast for a, we can't, Lucario is not one of our Terrestrial captains, but being able to just fire off a base 80 power normal move from the special side, don't know how frequently that'll happen, if anything, but that has that there's something there. Has priority with Vacuum Wave from the special side, which is also really nice. And then looking at that 110 base attack stat, we've got access to moves like Body Slam, Brick Break, Bullet Punch for priority, Circle Throw, Close Combat, Cross Chop, Crunch, Drain Punch for recovery, Earthquake, Extreme Speed, Facade, High Jump Kick, Low Kick. I mean, there's so many moves that this thing gets, and it just really makes it a threat. It has access to moves like Nasty Plot. It has access, I think it has access to almost every setup move in the game that I would choose to go for. It's got access to Bulk Up, raising our attack and our defense by 1 stage. It has access to Calm Mind, raising our special attack and special defense by 1 stage. It has access to Agility, raising our speed by 2 stages. It has access to Nasty Plot, raising our special attack by 2 stages. It has access to Swords Dance, raising our physical attack by 2 stages. It is just such a versatile offensive mon that's seeing it. And we got access to Work Up. If I want to run mixed with both attack and special attack, Work Up boosts both our attack and special attack by 1 stage. It's crazy. This thing has a ton of potential in my mind. This is a Pokemon that I was really looking forward to using. And I really just think that it is a good all-around offensive Pokemon to maybe substitute out for, if Iron Bundle isn't the best matchup, but we still need something to hit from the special side. Or Ogrepon not being able to show up that week. If there's a lot of rockers, maybe I don't want to bring Ogrepon that week. Lucario's resisted a rock, so we're not too fearful of any sort of stealth rocks there. But with that in mind, there are Pokemon that naturally do outspeed Ogrepon, even though it has 110 base speed. Lucario at base 90, there's a lot of good threats that do outspeed Lucario as well. One of the things that I really like to lean on in Draft League is the reliability of a good, fast electric type. I think there is a lot of benefit in a good, fast electric type, but that really didn't fit our build so far, in my opinion. We do have a little bit of a ground weakness and a fighting weakness right now. So I wanted something to kind of patch that up. And then to kind of help us capitalize on some of those speeds that Ogrepon and Lucario might have some difficulty dealing with, with Pokemon like, Hisuian Electrode's a fan favorite. Things like Dragapult, just a few other Pokemon that just are really, really fast and really, really strong. How can we deal with that? So the next Pokemon that we drafted, and this is something that I have used, again, probably not since Gen 7, is Vikavolt. I like how 3 out of the 5 Pokemon I've drafted so far, I'm like, I want to draft new things, and I'm just 3 of them. I think after a generation is over, the metagame's been so redefined, we can just count it as it hasn't been used in a while. But Vikavolt, Bug and Electric type with the Levitate ability, so we are immune to ground type moves, which is awesome. Not, fair amount of bulk. Fair amount of bulk, in my opinion. It's got 500 base stat. HP 77, 90 defense, 75 special defense, 70 in attack. We don't run this thing as a physical attacker. We run it as a special attacker. 145 base special attack. That's more than our first pick Iron Bundle. Now, granted, Iron Bundle and Vikavolt do 2 separate things, but that hits like a truck. We do have 43 speed, so unfortunately we are always going to be slower, but The good thing here to know about Vikavolt is that it does provide us with a fighting resist. It does provide us with that electric type. It also provides us sticky web coverage to help out some of our Pokemon that might be a little bit slower than the opponent. On top of that, it does things that you would expect from a bug and electric type. So it does have access to agility, which is great. Being able to raise that base 2 speed. It might as well be base 43 speed, excuse me. So being able to do that, making it a little bit more of an offensive threat could be really, really cool. We do have access to Baton Pass. Now, Vikavolt in this league, Baton Pass is banned. You can dry pass, but you cannot pass any sort of stats or substitutes or anything like that with Baton Pass. So just a raw Baton Pass if maybe you don't want to go for Volt Switch because they're going to bring in the ground type. You go for Baton Pass to switch out instead. It's got access to Bug Buzz, Discharge, Energy Ball, Flash Cannon. Like I said before, Sticky Web, Thunder, Thunderbolt, Thunder Wave, Volt Switch, Charge Beam, Solar Beam. I mean, it really in my mind it can be is one direction when it comes to offense. But one of the things also that helps out is that Vikavolt is the first of our 3 Terra Captains. So in this league, when assigning a Terra Captain, you can assign up to 3 types. One of them has to be its Pokemon, its natural type. So Bug and Electric are its 2 typings. I went with the Electric Terra typing because this, if you can break a ground type, Electric just starts to hit that much more. You just have to worry about that. It whittles down that much more. Bug I don't see doing too much offensively. Just getting rid of an Electric type or a ground type Pokemon and letting this thing run havoc just sounds so awesome. So I went with the Electric Terra type as its 2 stabs. Then we have 2 other typings that we can go with. Water Terra typing provides us that fire resistance, which could be beneficial to us as well. We don't have water coverage as well, so we can use something like Water Terra Blast if needed. And then Fairy as well. I feel like you can just turn anything into a Fairy and it just all of a sudden becomes a hard hitter, So being able to turn this thing into a Fairy type, firing off Terra Blast with that is going to be awesome. And yeah, that is our 5th pick. So we're roughly about halfway through the draft. And I'm still thinking about potential setup. I'm still thinking about how can I help kind of round out my team's defenses. Donfan's really nice reliably. Vikavolt's pretty nice reliably. How else can I be of benefit to building out this team? Maybe not just as a one-trick pony, but as something that also has variety in itself. And this one I have. This is probably the most recently used Pokemon. If I had to think right now, thinking about my entire team, this is the most recently used one that I used in Gen 8 Draft League, and that is Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl is great. Grimmsnarl is so good. I fell in love with using Grimmsnarl in Gen 8. It is such a fantastic Pokemon. Dark and Fairy type. It has a total of 510 base stats, 95 in HP, 120 in attack, 65 in defense, 95 in special attack, 75 in special defense, and 60 in speed. Abilities. So it does have Prankster. This Pokemon status moves have priority raised by 1, but dark types are immune. It has Frisk. On switching, we can identify the held items of all opposing Pokemon. It also has Pickpocket. If we have no item and we're hit by a contact move, we steal the attacker's item. So Prankster really being brought a lot on Grimmsnarl. Frisk being nice for some of those, if we run an offensive Grimmsnarl that doesn't need, Prankster status moves or anything like that, Frisk could be nice to help us scout out for our opponent. Pickpocket could be cheeky. I don't see it being brought, really outside of the other 2, but could be cheeky if we ever find ourselves in a position where we're either doing really well and we can afford to run maybe some memes or some heat, whatever the kids are calling it these days. Or if we're doing really bad and we just say fuck it, we just go on ahead and just start doing whatever we want to do. But let's talk about this thing's coverage. So really one of the things that's most notably known about Grimmsnarl is its Prankster tied in with the ability to set up screens. So Light Screen and Reflect is a very, very good thing to help us round out somewhat of our defensive backbone if we have a defensive lack of defensive coverage on there. Toss up a screen. What's gonna happen? Obviously Pokemon can run Brick Break. Pokemon can run Defog, Tidy Up, things like that to kind of clear things out. But screens aren't bad if they don't think it's coming. It can be great. It's got access to setup moves with Bulk Up. From a physical side, you can go for Body Slam, Brick Break, Crunch, Drain Punch, Fake Out, False Surrender, Fire Punch, Foul Play, Hammer Arm, Leech Life. It's got a ton of different moves here that you can use. And then it also has, from a physical side, from a special side, You can run also Nasty Plot Grimsnarl with access to moves, like Chilling Water, Dark Pulse, Dazzling Gleam, Draining Kiss, Focus Blast, Terra Blast, again, kind of falling in there of the the 80 base power normal move if we wanted to run it, Burning Jealousy, things along those lines, and then just being able to rely on Prankster for things like that. We talked about the screens. Prankster Parting Shot is always good, having that pivot momentum Parting Shot, lowering the target's attack and special attack by 1 stage before switching out. It's got access to Priority Taunt with Prankster, Thunder Wave, Trick, things along those lines. There's a bunch of other would fall under Showdown as the usually useless moves, which you might be able to run in a niche scenario that could help you out in the Draft League. That's what's so fun about Draft League, is that what some metas may define as a useless or ineffective ability, Draft League really allows for better capacity in that. And I think that's really awesome. That's one of my favorite things about Draft League personally. The next Pokemon that we drafted, finding ourselves back into the area of needing a little bit of bulk, needing something that can just really take a hit. Grimmsnarl, bulkier, doesn't really take, it's neutral to fighting, so we still have a little bit of a fighting weakness on our side. We don't want Vikavolt to sit too heavy on those. We want something that can really take some hits. We want something that can dish out some damage if need be. A little bit of cleric support is always nice. A little bit of speed control as well with things like Trick Room. So, and I know some people are always going to feel some sort of way about this Pokemon. We drafted Cresselia. Cresselia is also a Levitate user. It is pure Psychic type. And it has a very impressive 580 base stat total, 120 in HP, 110 in defense, 120 in special defense. Attack and special attack and speed still kind of sit around the mid lines, but that's okay because we are incredibly bulky. This Pokemon has access to set up moves with Calm Mind. It also can set up screens as well. It does have access to speed control with Trick Room. As far as coverage goes, Dazzling Gleam, Energy Ball, Future Sight, Grass Knot, Ice Beam. It does have access to Lunar Dance, which is great. So Lunar Dance, Cresselia will faint, and the next Pokemon that we bring in will be cured. Its HP will be fully restored, as well as all of its PP as well. Moonblast, it's got Recovery and Moonlight, Power Gems, Psychic, Psyshock. Where is that other one? It's where am I? I'm missing it here. There's another move that it gets. There's another, was it Lunar Blessing? That was the other one. So, not as beneficial as Moonlight. So Lunar Blessing heals a quarter of its max HP, whereas Moonlight can heal up to 50%, I believe, depending on, no, I think the weather's out of the case now. So Moonlight can heal up to 50%. Lunar Blessing can only heal up to 25%, but it does also heal any status moves. And one of the best ways to deal with Cresselia is by Toxing it. So Lunar Blessing being able to heal and mitigate that poison is very, very nice. I don't think too much needs to be said about Cresselia. It is very bulky. It does provide us some setup potential. It does provide us some speed control as well. I'm a really big fan of it, and I'm happy that we were able to, nab that overall. Now, the next Pokemon we actually, I didn't draft this initially. There's another Pokemon that I drafted, and we ended up, after the draft, having a little bit of a free period. So, first come, first serve. If you don't like your draft, fix it now or forever hold your peace. And this Pokemon still on the board really surprised me. And it does provide us yet another ground immunity. And it provides us another Pokemon similar to Lucario that benefits from access to Sticky Web, benefits to being able to be run either physically or special offensively, which is fantastic. Next Pokemon we drafted was Hydragon with a 600 base stat total, 105 attack, 125 special attack, and 98 speed. Really falls in that same line of, like I said, diversity of offense with Lucario. So it can be ran physically. It's got access to Dragon Dance, being able to raise its attack and speed by 1, being able to hit moves like Crunch, being able to hit moves like Earthquake, Fire Fang, Head Smash, Ice Fang, Stone Edge, things along those lines. From a special attacking side, it has access to Nasty Plot. Going for Dark Pulse, Draco Meteor, Dragon Pulse, Earth Power, Flamethrower. It has a ton of coverage moves, which is really nice. It does provide us also with some speed control with Tailwind support too, which could be good. It does have U-turn support. Being able to pivot around on our opponent could be very nice. So if they're expecting us maybe to go for a offensive move and they switch into a Pokemon to take that, we can continue to keep up momentum with the U-turn. Similar to Lucario, it can set up with access moves like Work Up as well, which is really nice. It also has access to Scale Shot as well. So if we do need to boost our speed at all and go in for those physical moves outside of something like Dragon Dance, if we go for, if we wanted to go for Dragon Dance into Scale Shot, that could be beneficial to us to get us to +2 speed. there are some speedy Pokemon these days. The power creep is real, but Hydragon is one of those Pokemon I feel that has really hung around quite a bit, and really just stayed a staple both in singles combat and in draft league format as well. Next Pokemon we drafted, I'm going to be honest, I wanted to draft this Pokemon. I've never used it in draft league, and I have always hated the thought of preparing for it. I have, and I really think I drafted it to not have to face it, and so I could have some fun with it. I drafted Ditto. Ditto, if you're not familiar with Ditto's usage in draft league, you're like, great, it can go for transform. How awesome. Ditto's ability, Imposter, on switch in, this Pokemon transforms into the opposing Pokemon that is facing it. Essentially, you just run a choice Ditto every week to make sure that you outspeed and handle the opponent's side if they have any sort of setup sweepers. It really provides your opponent. So as the user, as Ditto's trainer, it provides you with the insight that you need in order to see a full breakdown of their team. You know, things like Frisk on Grimmsnarl help out because you can see their held item, and that's nice. Being able to bring Ditto with Imposter to copy their moves and just give you the full idea of what that Pokemon is right out the gate, very beneficial. It really makes it so your opponent has to hesitate before setting up if you brought Ditto. Ditto really is a, you know, it seems silly. I think Ditto was a very low tier drafted Pokemon, especially at this stage in the draft. We're at like pick 8 or pick 9 at this point. I thought Ditto was great to grab. I thought it was great, so I didn't have to prep for it, and I really think it adds a different layer of preparation that my opponent is going to have to go for as well. The next Pokemon that we drafted, so as the points boil down, right? As the points boil down, we have 2 potential picks left, three potential picks left if we want to go for the full 12. But again, we can carry anywhere between 10 and 12 here. And they're really, you know, there is an entire tier of 1-point Pokemon that are available. And you really don't want to be the person that drafts like Gumshoe. Like I said earlier, you know, if you want to grab something out of that, especially in these later rounds, you really want to grab something that's worthwhile out of this tier. And in my mind, I grabbed probably the best 1-point Pokemon that I could. And I'm hoping that this 1-point Pokemon puts in a ton of work. So the next Pokemon that we drafted is actually Persian. Regular Kanto Persian. Good old Giovanni-looking Persian. It's pure normal type. It has access to Limber, which prevents paralysis. It has access to Unnerve, which prevents opposing Pokemon from using their berries. And most probably brought to be brought, Technician, which means this Pokemon's moves of 60 base power or less have 1.5 times power, including Struggle. Now, this Pokemon does not have a very impressive base stat total. Its most impressive stat being its base speed of 115, which is amazing. Offensively, this will never be a defensive bring. Offensively, base 70 attack and base 65 special attack is fantastic. But one of the things that I want to note about this Pokemon is that it is also our Terra Captain. So let's talk first through the benefits of Persian. So Agility is really its only setup move outside of Nasty Plot. The only other way that we can really raise our attack is through like Metal Claw boosts. Other than that, we don't have access to boost our stats. So we can either Nasty Plot and bring Special Persian, which again, 70 attack versus 65 special attack, you know, it's there. But the real reason that I really wanted to bring Persian is that at one point, it makes a great Terra Captain. It makes a great budget Terra Captain, in my opinion. Only having normal types. Let's talk about some of its moves really quickly. So it has access to Aerial Ace, has access to Body Slam. From the special side, Chilling Water, Dark Pulse. It has access to Priority with Fake Out, Foul Play, Gunk Shot, Hyper Voice, Knockoff, Play Rough, Power Gem, Seed Bomb, Roar for phasing, Shadow Ball, Shadow Claw, Switcheroo, Taunt, Thunderbolt, Thunder Wave, U-Turn, Trailblaze. Go down into the useless moves. You got moves like Bite, which all of a sudden become 90 base power, stronger than Crunch with a chance to flinch, which is crazy. You've got access to moves like Fury Swipes that benefit off of the Technician boost. You've got access to moves like Icy Wind, Metal Claw, which are buffed by Technician. So it really does make it a pretty versatile budget pick. At one point, I think his thing, I'm not going to say Persian is going to be my kill leader by any means, but I think people are going to sleep on Persian, and I think Persian is going to do some cool stuff. So Persian is our Terra Captain. Why? Persian as our Terra Captain. So we have to go with normal. And that really benefits me because that just means Fake Out is now Technician boosted, Stat boosted, and Terra boosted. You can bet your bottom dollar I am bringing Loaded Dice, Fury Swipes, Technician, Terra boosted Persian at least once in Draft League. I think that is going to be so fun. Thief to be able to Thief, lol, I was looking at the move Thief. So Dark is our next move. So what I think Dark does is it provides us a nice Psychic immunity if we don't want to bring any of our natural Dark types that are on the team. It also does boost our ability for some of our stronger moves that we might be able to lean into. So again, moves like Bite, moves like Assurance, moves like Thief. You're like, oh, whoever brings those. Technician plus Terra on those can really start to benefit some of those moves, which is going to be really, really nice. Being able to go from a special side and going for moves like Dark Pulse could be beneficial as well. I really think that that's an appropriate choice. And then just to make sure we're not completely fighting weak across the board, Fairy's great. You can turn anything into a fairy and it turns out awesome. So being able, we do have access to play rough. Being able to, again, if we wanted to run that nasty plot set and go for a special fairy Terra boost, could be Terra boosted, Terra Blast, Fairy Terra Blast, Fairy Terra Blast, could be beneficial to us as well. I think it provides us, both the normal and the dark type help boost some of our offensive moves, which we'll probably lean into. And then of course the fairy type being able to help boost things like play rough, but also give us access to that special fairy move as well, which could hopefully be beneficial. We will see. The last Pokemon that we got, so this was not a Pokemon that I had drafted. There were other Pokemon that, again, during this 24-hour free-for-all of change your drafts if you want to. This Pokemon was not on the original radar, but I'm going to be honest, I do like it a lot. I do like it a lot for what it adds to the team. And really, I'm shocked that nobody else got it and that it was available to grab. So we got Hisuian Quillfish. Now, I love Legends Arceus, so I'm happy that I was able to get a Hisuian Pokemon on my team. Hisuian Quillfish is dark and poison type. It has 65 HP, 95 attack, 85 defense, 55 special attack, special defense, and then 85 in speed. Carries the same abilities as regular Quillfish as well. So same base stat total, same abilities with Poison Point, a 30% chance of Pokemon making contact will be poisoned. Swift Swim, so its speed is doubled in the rain. And Intimidate. Intimidate is always great. Being able to lower the attack of opponents by one stage. Intimidate support is always fantastic to have. Now, this Pokemon is our third Terra Captain. Let's talk a little bit about the moves it has access to. So it does have priority in Aqua Jet. It has access to Aqua Tail. Barb Barrage, it is the signature move of Hisuian Quillfish and Overquill. 50% chance to poison, 2 times power if target is already poisoned. It's a base 60 move, which then turns into a 120 base power poison move if poisoned. That's crazy. Crunch, it has access to Destiny Bond. Gunk Shot, it has Haze support. Liquidation, Poison Jab. It does give us a grounded poison type to be able to absorb Toxic Spike, which is great. It also gives us a Toxic Spiker, which is great. It does also give us another Mon, maybe one Mon. I'm not sure how many of our Mons have it because I know it got weirdly nerfed in Gen 9. But it gives us a Mon that can use Toxic. It does give us access to another Spiker as well, which could be beneficial to us. And then there's, of course, the moves that fall under the usually useless moves. So let's talk about the Terra Captain choices here. So again, 1 natural typing, 2 extracurricular typings. The first one is Dark type. So Hisuian Quillfish's natural typing, the only weakness it has is ground type. So if a Pokemon is going to start going for a ground type, you'd think like go for a flying, go for something like that. The Dark type still helps us keep our Psychic immunity while also removing the ground weakness as well. So I think that could be beneficial to also lean into some of our Dark type moves and be able to keep that boost there as well. On the flip side of that coin, going for a Poison type gives us a very strong Fairy check as well. Because regular Quillfish doesn't evolve, Hisuian Quillfish does. That does give us access to moves like to Eviolite support, which is great, boosting our defense and special defense each by an extra 50%. So it does provide some extra Fairy reliability because right now our biggest Fairy check is Cresselia or Cresselia. That's really it. So being able to Terra Poison and take advantage of access to Eviolite and taking advantage of being able to just hit those things so hard between our natural type and that Terra boost is going to be really, really great. And then Terra Ghost is the last one. It has access to Shadow Ball. We're never going to do that. But what this does provide us is if we really feel like that our opponent has a reliable spinner, Ghost Quillfish can definitely show up as a spin blocker, in my opinion. Being able to intimidate on the switch in, being able to, terrestrialize into a ghost type, being able to block that hazard removal could be very beneficial to us. And that is our team. That is our team all rounded out. That is a total of 11 Pokemon. I'm very, very excited for this draft league. I'm very excited. Thank you again to Joey for the opportunity and inviting me to the league. I think it's going to be either really fun or really not fun. Only time will tell, but as of right now, I think it'll be fun, and I'm very, very excited for it. Please let me know your thoughts on the team down below. Very excited to get back in the driver's seat of things with Draft League. As I said before, it's it's a renaissance, and I'm happy to do my part and bring back the good old times of Pokemon Draft League popularity. So appreciate you watching. If you guys are new, feel free to subscribe to this channel. Of course, if you are so inclined and you enjoyed this video, leave a like. Helps me out on the channel. Goes a long way. All that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Be great. Do great. I'll see y'all later.